Well, certainly there was pressure from the travel industry and pressure too from senior figures within the government. Of course, they've been looking at Europe, which has been welcoming fully vaccinated Britons for several weeks now, and they want to get back to normality, or to try to get back to a normality just like Europe is, even if the United States is not yet willing or ready to reciprocate. It still, of course, remains effectively closed to foreigners, and indeed it has a specific travel warning against its citizens travelling to the UK. But what it means that from next Monday morning, if you're coming from an amber list, that meaning a medium risk country, the UK will accept proof of your double vaccination if you're from the United States or from Europe. From the United States, they'll accept paper forms of proof of vaccination because there are no vaccine passports there. If you're coming from an EU country, they'll take the digital COVID certificate. They'll accept that too from other countries, obviously, that are using the digital certificate, such as Switzerland, Iceland and Norway. As you mentioned, you'll still need to take a test before you travel. Within 2 days of travelling, you take another test 2 days after you get here, but you will get to skip the need for self-isolation. The only exemption for the time being is France, because the UK still has specific quarantine regulations in place for travellers from France because of high numbers of the beta variant which have been recorded there, even if the French government points out those high numbers of that beta variant are actually in French overseas territories rather than on the French mainland. There is an expectation that those regulations regarding France could change as early as next week. And of course, remember, this applies for now only to England, but obviously the other parts of the UK, Northern Ireland, Wales and Scotland, are looking at it very closely and could yet follow suit.
Now, surely these are some good news for the travel industry, but daily cases are still in the tens of thousands. What's been the response among the public in general?
Well, certainly, as you mentioned, the travel industry is very happy. It effectively opens the country again to international tourism. So owners of hotels and other tourist attractions who've been relying on domestic tourists can now look forward to getting international tourists as well. There had even been some concern that another airline or two, I should say, could go bankrupt. Of course, we saw Britain lose a couple of its airlines during the pandemic. There are opposition politicians and some within the scientific community questioning whether this is the right time. And yes, you're right to say that cases are still in their tens of thousands, but there is a nascent optimism here that perhaps those fears about the Delta variant surging could have been overblown. For 6 days over the past week, we've seen daily case numbers, new case numbers, falling consistently. Now, that trend has been booked as of today. The case numbers have gone up again, 27,000 recorded in the last 24 hours, but still good when you contrast that to a week ago when there were 44,000 cases recorded in a single day. So still too early to say for sure, and the government is urging caution. But even one of this country's leading epidemiologists has said that perhaps his projections of 100,000 new cases a day within the next couple of weeks could have been too pessimistic, which if true is good news for everyone. We're all hopeful for that, Annalise.